After 7 long months with no college basketball, Andy Patton, it's finally here. Let's go.
You are Locked On College Basketball, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? Happy Monday. Welcome into the Locked On College Basketball Podcast, the only daily national college hoop show out there. We're your hosts. That's Andy Patton. I'm Isaac Schade. You're joining us at the place to get your college basketball content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen or watch on opening day of the college basketball season. We are elated to be with you. Special shout out to all the everydayers here with us, all the great members of the Locked On College Basketball Discord as well. We're going to be talking and hanging out in there all day long, as you can imagine, because it's opening day and there's so many games. Like, there are games probably already happening as you're listening to or watching this. It's incredible stuff. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Andy, it's here. Today's the day. By my count, which could be wrong, 108 games between Division I teams, a whole bunch of others that aren't playing D1 teams. 20 of the AP top 25 teams are in action. The other four of the other five are tomorrow, Tuesday, and then Creighton is the last on Wednesday. Today on the show, Andy, we're bringing everybody our preseason All-American picks, our preseason National Player of the Year pick, and a six-pack of what we're each most excited for today. But we got to start in Las Vegas. Andy, a lot of years, our first opening day show is about like bemoaning how poorly the slate is. And it ain't a phenomenal slate. It's more volume than quality. But we've got the Hall of Fame series in Las Vegas, Andy, at T-Mobile Arena, starting with the reigning national champion Florida Gators, third in the nation against 13th ranked Arizona, 7 Eastern on TNT in Vegas, Florida minus 3.5 at FanDuel, followed by Villanova against number 8 BYU. What up, AJ Dybantsa, as we got correct on Friday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, also on TNT, BYU minus 8.5. Andy, we got to start with the first game, the only one today between two ranked opponents. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I see a couple of former WCC coaches in action, which is always fun. Todd Golden, of course, former San Francisco head coach, taking on Tommy Lloyd and the former longtime assistant coach at Gonzaga. But this is going to be a phenomenal game. This is going to be such a fun basketball game. Two, not only top 25 teams, Isaac, but two top 15 teams in the AP poll. Florida comes in at number 3. Arizona comes in at number 13. Obviously, the big storyline for this Gators team, they returned their entire front court from last year, which was an incredibly dominating force for this team. But they also lose their entire backcourt. Walter Clayton Jr. was the player that most people associated with that Florida team. He is gone. He is out already getting buckets in the NBA. Elijah Martin and Will Richard are gone as well. So I think that's the big thing that I'm going to be looking for in this game is how does that Florida backcourt look? You got Boogie Fland coming over from Arkansas, was very successful last year while playing for the Hogs, but he was dealing with the injury stuff. And then you have Xaivian Lee coming over from Princeton, again, really successful player, but that was in the Ivy League. How does that translate over to the SEC and to Florida's system? I suspect both those players are going to be very good, but they have huge shoes to fill for Florida. And we're talking backcourt, and I don't know if you would call Tommy Hauck backcourt necessarily for Florida, but he's kind of not really in the front court anymore, as Todd Golden made it pretty clear that they're planning to deploy Hauck as the 3 for this team because, again, Alex Condon is back and Ruben Chinyelu is back, and so those guys are going to start at the front court positions, and Tommy Hauck's one of the best players on this team, so they're going to start him at the 3. I'm so excited to see how that lineup works. Hauck is a matchup problem at 6'9" with his ability to space the floor. He plays like a 4 who's going to be, playing a different position. There may have some bumps along the way, but I'm really excited to see how that ultimately plays out for this team. And obviously for Arizona, a really young team. A lot of freshmen coming in, Koa Pete, Braden Burries, Dwayne Aristode. Like, this is a really good young team, but they got returners. They got Jaden Bradley coming back. They got Anthony Del Orso, who's expected to step into a bigger role for this team. Toby Awaka comes back as well. Mo Krivas, after some injury issues, will be back. So I'm really interested to see how Coach Lloyd blends the young new players on this roster with some of the veterans coming back, I think it's going to be a really fun matchup between two teams that I wouldn't be surprised if they stick in the top 15 for the vast majority of the season.
Yep, Andy, with Florida, I think so much of the storyline for people is like that assumption of like so many guys are back in the front court, and these other guys in the backcourt are going to come in and it's going to work right away.
Mhm.
I think there is reason for at least a little bit of pause of
Yeah.
how Boogie, Fland and Xaivian Lee going to coexist. Right, they're both used to being pretty ball dominant guards.
Mhm.
And Condon can play with the ball in his hands. How can play in the ball in his hands, right? How does that, the ability of Lee and Fland to come together and figure this out quickly is going to determine how capable they are of doing this. Because for the front court, they're used to being able to do it with all those guys last year. They knew how that all worked. How quickly are they able to adjust to the formation of a new backcourt and how they come together? And obviously we're just talking about the starters there, right? We have to look at that too, at the depth in the backcourt and how that's going to work. Obviously with Denzel Aberdeen, had he stayed, he could have been in that starting backcourt. So we'll see how all that comes together. And Andy, I think the question always is, when you move a guy that we're used to seeing in Tommy Hauck at the 4 or the 5, how is that transition going to work? Right. I think that those two things, the backcourt combination and the Hauck experiment, that's probably two of the biggest storylines, not just for Florida, but nationally, Andy, because everybody will see how are the reigning national champions going to do. And by the way, everyone who thinks when we say, hey, the whole front court's back, yes, I guess Olivier Rioux, the 8-foot 47-inch player from France, is technically part of that, but don't expect to see him, guys. So just get used to that now. I feel like I get asked about that all the time, Andy, and I'm like, the guy's not going to play, people. Come on, let's go there. So that's all part of it. And what I like for Arizona, Andy, is in a similar way to, I mean, I am not calling them as talented in any way as Duke was last year. But while they have this trio of great freshmen in Pete Burries and Aristode, they've got both returners and others to come around them and help lead and guide the way. So I think it's there's plenty of talent with the returners, but how quickly can those freshmen come along and be ready to contribute at a high level is going to spell the answer to that. Andy, make your pick. Prediction for the first ranked matchup of the season. Who are you going with?
Yeah, it's Florida 3.5 is the line. I think I'm taking Florida. I was thinking about it while you were talking. I think it's going to be awfully close. I think it's going to be a good game. I would not be surprised to see Arizona not only cover but win this basketball game. But I'm leaning towards Florida finding a way to pull it out. A little bit more experience on that roster. So give me Florida, and give me Florida by like 2 or 3 possessions. So it's right around that line.
So you would have Florida to win 2 or 3 possessions.
So yeah, like give me Florida by 6 points, something like that.
Okay, so Florida to win and cover. I like it. I was going to say Florida to win, Wildcats to cover. So I'm going to, I don't know, maybe Arizona has the ball with a chance to win or tie at the end and can't pull it off. But man, I'm with you, Andy. That's going to be such a fun game. Can't wait for it. The nightcap also in Vegas, Kevin Willard making his debut for Villanova after leaving Maryland against BYU, AJ Dybantsa, Rob Wright coming over from Baylor. We've got Saunders, man, all this, it's going to be so much fun. And let's not forget Keba Keita, Andy. This dude is just a stud. Yes, they're a little bit undersized in the front court, but it doesn't matter. What they lack in height, they make up for with strength and athleticism. And so it's going to be a lot of fun. But Andy, all the other great storylines, cool, whatever, who cares? All eyes in this game on Dybantsa.
Yeah. This is the AJ Dybantsa show. It's going to be so much fun to see him finally in a real game. I mean, we saw him in those exhibition games. He scored 30 against Nebraska, looked great against North Carolina. Like, he is a very, very good scorer. He is great at drawing contact, at getting to the free throw line. He's going to really shine in this game, and justifiably all the eyes are going to be on him. I think for BYU, the storyline in terms of what they need to do to make sure they come out of this game 1-0 is less about Dybantsa and more about, can they play enough defense as a team against a Villanova team that is very new look, new coach, new system, a lot of new players. I think it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out for this team. But for BYU, it's do they get enough defense from Richie Saunders and Rob Wright? Can he do everything that they need him to do down around the block? I mean, Villanova's front court is pretty unproven as well. They have Duke Brennan, a transfer from Grand Canyon. He's fine, but I think that he's not going to make a huge difference over somebody like Kaida, for example. So there's a lot of fun, kind of intriguing storylines within this game, but ultimately it's going to be, how does Dybantsa look in his first actual game? Does he get close to that 30-point marker? And kind of just, what does the play style look like? Does he gel well with Saunders and Wright and all those guys? It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. The first really marquee game for any of these big three freshmen before Boozer, of course, takes on Texas on Tuesday. That'll be a fun one, but this is the kind of that first big chance for one of these guys to really pop.
Yeah, I think BYU should control this game, Andy, but AJ is not the only freshman of note that we're watching, man. Caden Lewis is going to be so good for Villanova this year. Very excited to see how that comes together. Originally a Kentucky recruit, decommitted, wound up at Villanova with Kevin Willard, and I just think he's going to have a great year for them, and quite frankly, he's going to need to, especially with Askew out, right? Like, it's just you got to be able to do some of that. Very excited to see how he can come together. And so while all the freshman looking eyes are probably on Dybantsa, do not miss what a Caden Lewis is going to bring to the table for Villanova. But Andy, ultimately, I expect BYU to both win and cover the spread here.
I'm taking BYU to win, but I am taking Nova to cover. I think this is going to be a decently close game. I think Villanova is just a little bit hard to predict right now and hard to game plan against. And BYU's defense worries me enough that I think they might score 90, but I think Villanova might score 85. And so it might end up being a little bit closer than that line. But yeah, still give me BYU to win this one. All right, folks, we've made plenty of all conference predictions. If you've been listening to our conference previews over the last 9 weeks, we have given you our all conference teams, but now it is time to give you our actual all-American picks. Each of us, our top 5 players this year. We got that coming up here in just a second. But first, folks, college basketball is back officially, and we could not be more excited. The madness, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's just nothing like it. But let's be real, actually getting tickets to games can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. And that's why I use Game Time. It's the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices without any of those surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. And it's faster, it's cheaper, and it's less stressful than any other way that I have bought tickets. And I love that you can see the views from your seat right there in the app. We already touched on this game a little bit. Tuesday, Texas, Duke, Spectrum Center in Charlotte, 8:45 p.m. Eastern time. If you still want to get tickets to that game, you can get them for $42 a piece in section 202 at Game Time. So folks, take the guesswork out of buying college basketball tickets by using Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege. And folks, you'll get $20 off your first purchase. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Terms apply. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. All right, Isaac, it is time now that the season has officially begun for us to reveal our first team All-American picks for this upcoming season. Again, if you've been listening, you've heard our all-conference picks for all of the power conferences, as well as the WCC, Mountain West, American, and the A10. But now we want to give you our actual first team All-American projections. 5 players. Isaac, we'll start with you. Who do you got on your first team All-American?
Andy, it's so fun this time of year because there's so much potential with it, right? Like, returning studs who have done such great things. This year, we've got this great and wildly talented freshman class, many of multiple of whom or none of whom could wind up on the postseason actual All-American teams, guys returning to their same school, guys going to new places. And I just think, man, it's so fun. It's so full of hope and wonder and possibility right now. And I think that's part of what makes today so special. Andy, for me, I guess I got a little bit of a mix of all of that on my preseason All-American list. I am going to start it with Braden Smith at Purdue, the projected preseason National Player of the Year for so many people. He's going to, I mean, just, you talk about the ceiling of many people. His is less about the ceiling for me and how ridiculously high his floor is. Yeah. There's so much he's capable of. Purdue is going to be great, great, great. Hey, speaking of which, remember this time last week and everybody was like, man, Purdue got waxed at Kentucky. Yeah. They're not a top 10 team. Mm-hmm. Are we saying the same thing about Kentucky? I didn't happen to hear that, Andy, when they lost over the week. Anyway, so Braden Smith, and that's no shade at Kentucky. It's shade at the people calling, Purdue bad. Second, JT Toppin, Texas Tech, reigning Big 12 Player of the Year. I think, if anything, he's going to have more production this year with Darion Williams out the door. Several guys that either come in or take steps up, like Christian Anderson, to help along the way. But I think JT is going to have an even more productive year for a really, really good Texas Tech team. So he's an obvious candidate for me as well. Let me return to the backcourt, where I feel like I'm higher on UCLA than maybe a lot of people are. And a lot of that is because not only what they return, but because of just going out and plucking Donovan Dent and saying, come be a dude for us. And I'm really excited to see how that's going to come together. I do think, one of my picks, and then you pushed me on it even further on our Big Ten show, is that I think Donovan Dent is going to be the Big Ten Player of the Year over Braden Smith. And so it makes sense then that I would have both of them then on my preseason All-American. Andy, I went with two of the freshmen on my preseason All-American team. Interestingly, not AJ. I'm going with Cam Boozer at Duke. The guy just wins and wins and wins. He's a different player than Cooper Flagg, but produces at a similarly ridiculous level. We all saw the 24 and 23 and 6 assists he had the other day. It's going to be like that over and over and over again all season long. He's going to be a stud for a great Duke team. So check it. And then finally, Darren Peterson. This dude is a 6'6" lead guard that, can I stop there? But he ended up number one in 247's rankings of everything. He's looked the part in preseason. Cannot wait to see, today Kansas plays, sure, whatever. But Friday, we get to see him at the Smith Center in Chapel Hill. That's going to be super fun. And I think that's going to be his real big, holy cow, breakout nationally. And then he's just going to keep on doing it all season long. And so there you go. Braden Smith, JT Toppin, Donovan Dent, Cam Boozer, and Darren Peterson. Andy, what's yours look like?
Pretty similar, if we're being honest. Three of the five, same names for me. I won't belabor the point on Braden Smith. You said it all very well. He is, at this point, it would be borderline malpractice to not include him on your preseason All-American list because of how high that floor is. I also have JT Toppin for a lot of the same reasons. I thought that Texas Tech's offseason, they did a good job of building a roster that kind of works around JT Toppin's skill set. They add some really good shooting and guys like Tyree Bryan and LaJuan Watts. If Christian Anderson takes that leap, like we talked about, they have a bunch of role players around a superstar big. And I think that only furthers the point of Toppin being one of the best players in the country. And then I also have Darren Peterson for a lot of the same reasons you listed. 6'6" lead guard. Kansas is going to play through him a ton. I would not be surprised if he is the leading scorer in all of college basketball, or at least one of very few 20-plus point per game guys at the power conference level. If you score around 20 points for Kansas, it would be insane for you to not be a first-team All-American, and I think that will be the situation with Peterson. He is actually the only of those freshmen that I went with. I went with a bit more of a veteran team here. Two other players on my list that are both Big Ten bigs, by the way. One of them, Yaxel Lendeberg, obviously transferring from UAB to Michigan. Lendeberg was one of two players in college basketball last year who led his team in every major statistical category. The other one was Cooper Flagg at Duke. Lendeberg, of course, did that at UAB. Not sure he'll do that at Michigan, but if he comes anywhere close to doing that for the Wolverines and they end up being top 2 or 3 team in the Big Ten, then Lendeberg will find himself on this list. And then last but not least, I broke the rule that we had for all of our conference previews, which is you can't have 2 players from the same team. But it's hard for me to not think Trey Kaufman-Renn has a very real chance of being an All-American. His numbers last year, he averaged 20 points. He's shot 60% from the field. Like, he is such an elite performer. If Daniel Jacobson is healthy, that takes a little bit more pressure off of Kaufman-Renn, particularly on the defensive end of the floor. And I just think he's going to be an absolute monster this year. If Purdue ends up as the best or one of the best teams in the country, I wouldn't be surprised to see Smith and Kaufman-Renn on this list. Having said that, Dent is a phenomenal pick. I'm actually going to talk about him a little later in the show. And Boozer is a very logical pick here as well. I think there's a ton of great candidates, but give me a little bit more of a veteran group for my picks here.
Yeah, love it, Andy. And man, I can't wait to see what these teams actually look like, because undoubtedly every year there's some kind of surprise that pops, and I can't wait to see who that is. Andy, out of your quintet, who's your NPOY? Who's your National Player of the Year?
Yeah, I went with Smith again. The floor is just so high. Like, in my mind, unless Purdue falls out of the top 5, and Smith's going to be the player of the year. Like, his numbers would have to take any kind of a significant drop for him to not be in consideration here. So I'm going with Smith. I think that he just has not quite Edey levels of a heads up in this race, but a bit of an advantage at this point, just from the narrative perspective. And I think he's going to get it done.
Yeah, man, that makes sense. I'm actually going to go similar to you and similar to your list. I'm going to go with none of the freshmen. I'm going with JT Toppin. I think Braden Smith absolutely could do it, but I think what JT's going to do, again, I think he's going to have even bigger numbers than he did last year. I think it's going to be just a phenomenal year. And I think, we both have Texas Tech in that upper tier in the Big 12. And so that makes sense to me. And so it all comes together. And honestly, I think it will be Braden Smith because he's the leader in the preseason clubhouse. And I just don't see where he doesn't do it. But man, I love what Toppin brings to the table. It's fun to think about a backcourt guy and a front court guy. And I would love to have maybe a season long, like Adam Morrison, JJ Redick kind of player of the year race. That'd be super fun. As we did last year for a long part of the year between Cooper Flagg and oh gosh, his name's escaping me from Auburn.
Janai Broom.
Thank you. Good grief. I'm getting old, Andy. Janai Broom and Cooper Flagg. Great stuff. Andy, I loved your idea on this. Let's also name a dark horse All-American. So folks, this is not somebody that's like, well, I think he'll probably actually be third team, but I'm going to put him up, right? Like somebody that might be a little bit further off of the radar. Who'd you go with for that?
Yeah, I picked two guys here. I'll go with my slightly homer pick in Braden Huff. Main reason for picking Braden Huff at Gonzaga is that the obvious choice that people are choosing from Gonzaga is Graham Ike. I understand why. I made a bold prediction on my other show, Locked on Zags, that I don't even think Graham Ike is going to lead Gonzaga in scoring. I think it's going to be Braden Huff. He entered the starting lineup last year. In the final 3 games of the season, he outscored Ike in 2 of those 3 games. I wouldn't be surprised to see Huff approach 18 to 20 points per game for Gonzaga. If he does that, that could land him in that All-American conversation. He's not a great defensive player, but neither is Ike. Neither was Drew Timme, and he made a bunch of All-Americans, so it's not necessarily a prerequisite to be in that conversation. My other dark horse pick, just throwing this one out there, is Xaivian Brown at Oklahoma. That's definitely pretty far off the radar, granted, so is Huff, but Brown, St. Joe's transfer, really productive player in the A-10. I think Porter Moser's the right coach for him. Him and Nigel Pack's going to be a really good backcourt for the Sooners, and I think Xaivian Brown could put up the kind of numbers that really turn a lot of heads this year for the Sooners team.
Andy, I picked 2 as well. I'm going to start with Bennett Stirtz at Iowa. And I know I said somebody that a lot of people don't have on second or third team. Some people do have him on their second or third team.
I was going to push back on that.
but Andy, here's my why is I want to go back 2 or 3 years ago and like in a Dalton Connect sort of way, right? Yeah. Bennett Stirtz has come out of absolute nowhere. And the fact that he is on the national radar at the level he is after being at Drake, after being at the D2 level, after like all of that is wild to me. And so I'm just so excited to see that circus this year at Iowa. And I just hope that Ben McCollum and Bennett Stirtz can just keep that thing rolling, man. That would be so much fun. So I get that. Like I'm kind of breaking that rule that I set, but I'm going long view dark horse, if I can put it that way. And then in a similar vein, I'm going with JoJo Tugler at Houston. Here's my reasoning for that. Everybody thinks of him as, oh man, potential defensive national player of the year. But this dude, I think, is going to be called upon to do so much more for Houston this year. And if Houston is as good as we expect them to be, somebody from that team is going to be on here. And I think there are other people that you would pick first, maybe from Houston. And so that's why I have Tugler as my dark horse here. Andy, just a couple other names that popped in my head as I was just thinking of all this. Jacoby Gillespie at Tennessee. We both think they need to play through him a lot this year. Ryan Conwell at Louisville. I think somebody from Louisville is going to score a crap ton of points this year. Yeah. And while we might all be thinking about Mikal Brown, just watch what Ryan Conwell does for Pat Kelsey. And then Andy, I would love to see the redemption story of Tucker DeVries finally being healthy and balling out for one of the historical programs in our nation, Indiana, playing for his dad in his last year. I would love that. All right, Andy, we're talking way too long. I'm just so excited. So many great names, so many possibilities. The season is here. So it's time, Andy, for our weekly 6-pack with a different twist this year. 6 things we are most excited to see on opening day. We'll have that for you to wrap the show in just a second. Right after I tell you about FanDuel, you guys, not only is college basketball back, but the NBA is too, and there's no better place to get in on that action than FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of a game, maybe you want to hop in late, ride the hot hand. FanDuel has live bets on everything from who's going to score next to a fourth quarter comeback and more. Plus, you can take all those bets and combine them into a same game parlay for a chance and a shot at an even bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, so you can always have something riding on it and like, what's going to happen? I love it. Right now, these games tonight that we talked about in segment 1, Florida -3.5 over Arizona and BYU 8.5 over Villanova. You want to get in on any of that action or anything else happening today? Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head on over to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Andy, this is a type of segment we've done as the season's going since, like, I think the first season we started doing this is a Monday six-pack, where a lot of times during the season, we're just scattershot firing through six games we want to touch on for some reason or another. And so today, rather than quick preview six games, because frankly, there ain't much outside of those Vegas games, we thought it would be cool if we just gave you six things we're looking forward to or excited about or something like that for today, opening day. So Andy's going to kick us off. What do you got?
Yeah, you mentioned him earlier, and I wanted to kind of expand on it a little bit. Basically, what I'm excited to see is if we're going to get a fully unleashed Donovan Dent at UCLA, because Donovan Dent was very much fully unleashed at New Mexico, 20-point per game scorer, one of the most prolific players in all of college basketball while with the Lobos. And now he's at UCLA, and UCLA has a tendency to play a bit of a slower pace and to kind of pigeonhole players into Mick Cronin's system. And sometimes that doesn't work. Sometimes it does. And with Donovan Dent, it kind of felt like, well, he's a really talented player, and Mick Cronin is a really good coach, but is this going to be a good fit? And what we've seen in the exhibitions games so far for UCLA is, yes, Mick Cronin is just letting him cook and letting him go and letting him do what he does. I think that's the correct choice, and Cronin has effectively said that already, of like, yeah, we're just going to let him do our thing. He said to John Fanta in an interview earlier today that I saw, he said, hey, I think that we have a top 10 offense with Donovan Dent, and you can't kind of corral somebody like that. So UCLA plays Eastern Washington. It's at 10:30 Eastern time on the Big Ten Network. Again, not expected to be a particularly competitive game, and therefore we may not see Donovan Dent for more than 25 or so minutes in this game. But I just want to see how much Mick Cronin lets him go versus kind of restraining him. And it'll give us a good indication of whether Donovan Dent truly is going to be in that All-American conversation or not.
Woo-hoo-hoo, baby, that's going to be a lot of fun. Andy, my first thing that I'm excited about today is what sort of wild stat lines are we going to see from this heralded freshman class? So many of them we got to see just go off in exhibition games, and those were games against other high major opponents, Andy. The vast majority of them today are playing not high major opponents. Now, as you said about Donovan Dent, that might mean they don't have to play a ton, but still, we might get to see crazy stuff. We've got 8 of the top 9 in the player rankings from 247's rankings in action today. The only one that's not is Cam Boozer, who, as you said earlier, Duke's playing Texas tomorrow in Charlotte. The Dickie V invite. I'm so excited for that. That'll be fun. But we talked about it earlier. Darren Peterson in Kansas in action against Green Bay. AJ Dybantsa is part of that Hall of Fame Classic in Vegas. Nate Ament in Tennessee are playing Mercer at 7 tonight. Darius Acuff in Arkansas take on Southern. Keep in mind, Malik Thomas as well isn't in this top 10. Mikel Brown in Louisville against South Carolina State. Chris Senack in Houston against Lehigh. We've got Caleb Wilson in North Carolina against Central Arkansas. And Braden Burries, not just Braden Burries, but as we said earlier, Aristode and Koa Pete as well against Florida to tip off that Vegas thing tonight. And so, Andy, that just touches some of the marvelous freshmen in action. And so I can't wait to see what they're all going to do.
My next one is looking at the schedule again, as we've alluded to a handful of times. Not a ton of super competitive games, but it feels like every year, maybe not on the first day, but within the first couple of days, we see a high major team go down to a mid-major. We saw Michigan State lose to James Madison was a big one. But again, these happen every single year, especially in an era.
2 years ago, Andy, I was just thinking about that. Was that 23?
2 years ago, maybe 3. I hope not 3. That makes me feel old, but I think it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think it was 23-24 season.
Yeah, that sounds right. But yeah, it's we always see these games be a little bit more competitive or potentially even get some upsets early in the season just because these rosters are turning over entirely. And so the games I'm keeping an eye on for that, there's one mid-major team that's favored over a power conference opponent. That is Florida Atlantic. The Owls favored over Boston College by 1.5 points. That is a true road game, by the way, for Boston College. But then also San Jose State at Utah is a game where I feel like that could end up, the Utes could end up getting clipped there as a new team, new coach against a veteran San Jose State team with a coach who's been there a long time in Tim Miles. And then Youngstown State going on the road to take on Pitt. FanDuel has Pitt favored by 13.5, so they got a pretty good advantage there. But I could see Pitt struggled a little bit in the early going in their exhibition games, so I would keep an eye on that. And then even I don't expect Baylor to lose to UTRGV. I don't expect Texas A&M to lose to Northwestern State. But those are two teams that have like almost entirely new rosters. So I'm curious to see how they look in their first game. Partly just for fun. I'm excited to see how those pieces come together, but also like, are we going to see some growing pains and could it be a challenge for them in these first games?
Shouts to my in-laws who used to work in administration at UTRGV. Andy,
Nice.
There you go. By the way, we were spot on. Monday, November 6th of 2023, James Madison went to the Breslin Center and knocked off Michigan State 79-76 in OT. Our brains are not quite as bad and cooked as we maybe thought they were. Andy, my next one that I'm looking forward to today is Illinois and Brad Underwood's Eastern Bloc. Unfortunately, a bit of a wounded Eastern Bloc that might not fully fly today. But, I mean, honestly, the Avicic brothers alone is enough for me to get excited. We've got Tomislav already there, obviously, and then Zvonimir comes in from Arkansas to join him this year. David Mirkovic is going to be healthy and ready to go. I think two of those three is your starting front court for Illinois. Mihailo Petrovic won't play tonight. I think when he does suit up, he's got a hammy issue he's got going on. He will be the starting point guard, I think. Sliding Boswell over to the 2. And then Andrei Stojakovic, Andy, who we didn't think would play, is actually a GTD, a game time decision for tonight. That's good news against Jackson State. But here's the thing, Andy. Ain't no reason to try to suit up Stojakovic against Jackson State unless he's just like 100% ready to go. They play Florida Gulf Coast on Friday. I don't expect that they should play Petrovic or Stojakovic for either of those games. But next Tuesday, Veterans Day, they play Texas Tech. And then the next Wednesday, November 19th, they play Bama. So I can't wait to see the full Eastern Bloc crew ready to go. It's going to be so fun in Champaign. I'm excited for that team. Let's get it.
Man, that by the way, that November 11th, Veterans Day, lots of really good games. Gonzaga Creighton is that day. Duke at Army is that day. Texas Tech and Illinois that day. That's for a Tuesday in early November. That's a pretty darn good slate of games that's going on that day. Speaking of Gonzaga, since they're one of those teams, my next one, I'm excited to see Steele Venters finally make his debut with this Gonzaga team. For those who don't know the story here, Steele Venters actually committed to Gonzaga in the transfer portal 1 week before Gonzaga landed Ryan Nembhard and Graham Ike in the transfer portal. And yet today, Steele Venters still has not played an official game in a Gonzaga uniform. He missed his entire first season with an ACL injury, suffered 2 days before the 23-24 season. While recovering from that injury, he suffered an Achilles injury on his other leg that kept him out for the entire 24-25 season. So he has yet to play. And now he's healthy. He's been playing well in the exhibition games, has been shooting the lights out. That is what he is good at. For reference, this player, Venters, was the Big Sky Player of the year that Dalton Connect scored 20 points per game at Northern Colorado. So that is where the last time we saw Steele Venters, he was doing that. Dalton Connect has since transferred to Tennessee, become an All-American, and is now in his second NBA season with the Los Angeles Lakers. So for Venters, it has been a long journey. Again, I don't expect Gonzaga to have a particularly challenging game against Texas Southern, which is, again, tonight, 9 Eastern time on ESPN+, but it'll be wonderful and cathartic for Venters, his family, and his supporters to get a chance to see him play in a Gonzaga uniform. This kid grew up rooting for the Zags and has waited 2 more years than he should have to get a chance to play for him.
Shouts to my in-laws again, who live like 10 minutes from Texas Southern's campus. No, wait, I'm so wrong. Texas State. Wow, I take all of that back. That was
all of that. Texas Southern, I think, is in Houston, right?
Yeah, that was poor form from me. Man, I should just quit.
They'll forgive you, I suspect.
Yeah, but you know who's not is Texas Southern or State at this point.
No,
Andy,
you've made enemies for life.
We've got massive audiences from both of those schools, and they're livid with Isaac Schade right now.
Future Pac-12 team, Texas State, by the way.
That's right. Wow. That's crazy. Andy, my last thing I'm excited about to wrap up the 6-pack. I went big picture on this, Andy. A full day of college hoops. The first tip today is 8 a.m. Eastern time, Andy, 5 a.m. your time on the West Coast. That game is on YouTube. Winthrop at Queens, part of the Field of 68 marathon. Shouts to those guys for getting this going. I absolutely love it. Andy, the last tip of the day is 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. your time on Big Ten Plus. That's Arkansas Pine Bluff. No in-laws close to there against Washington.
Weirdly, my in-laws are very close to Washington, though.
Andy, in totality today, by my count, we've got 108 games between Division I opponents. By the way, for those of you who haven't seen it before, every year I do an undefeated list, and as teams lose, I cross them off. So there's 365 teams. Andy, that means at least 108 of those 365 will be gone off my undefeated list at the end of today. As we said earlier, 20 of the 25 AP preseason top 25 teams are in action today. Andy, we've had all this lead up, this speculation, and now we find out, where were we spot on? Where were we dead wrong? And everything in between. And that's why we love it, because now it's not hypothetical. It's not theoretical. It's actual. There are games happening, and we're so back.
Folks, I want to thank all of you who have made this show your first listen or watch throughout this very lengthy 7-month off season. We appreciate every single one of you who have been with us through the transfer portal, through all of the recruiting, coaching changes, all of the fun conversations we have had throughout the off season. And those of you who are now going to stick with us throughout the season. So much fun. We cannot wait to continue to bring you these game previews, game recaps, everything going on, all the fun national storylines here as the 25-26 season gets underway officially. But that is going to wrap it up for us today. We will be back with you on Tuesday, recapping all of these fun games, including the 2 big ones in Vegas, getting you ready for that fun game between Duke and Texas on Tuesday as well. But of course, we always want to say apologies to the Lawyer family. Let's go Wild Popes. Cheers to the Mick Bruins taking on their first opponent. And until Tuesday, peace out.